Welcome back to the One Decision Away podcast. I'm your host, Elijah Meng. In this one, we're going to talk about the three major blocks that are in the way of your inner peace and how you can release those to create more fulfillment in your life, because fulfillment is what life is all about. You may argue that achievement or creating your dream life is what life is all about, but really you only want to do those things because you think you'll be happier and more fulfilled in the achievement of them. And the truth is that you probably will, unless you are running into this third block that I'm going to talk about in this episode. So stick around, hear me out, and I promise you it will be valuable. So number one is your belief system. Now, if you're aware of the subconscious mind, then you know that the subconscious mind is what the majority of what is controlling your life, because your conscious mind is only a sliver compared to the power of your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is 1,000,000 times more powerful than your conscious mind. Your conscious mind is just like the gatekeeper. Your subconscious mind is all of your programming. It's what you are programmed to get in your life. It's what you're programmed to experience in your life. So if you continually run into negative relationships, toxic relationship patterns, abuse, things like that, it's because your subconscious mind is programmed to get and receive those things. And as tough as it can be to accept, when it comes to certain extents, you need to accept it, because you're not going to change anything until you do accept it, until you do accept that you are creating your own reality through your belief system. And so when you address the unconscious mind and the unconscious beliefs that you have about who you are, about what you're worthy of and what you're capable of, about what you deserve to receive, the treatment you deserve to receive, the results you deserve to get in your life, all of those kind of things, you'll realize that the majority of your suffering and the majority of your problems are coming from some kind of underlying subconscious belief. And so number one is your belief systems. Now, typically the biggest underlying belief systems that are causing, suffering, that are getting in the way of you actually maintaining like a peaceful state on the regular in your life consistently, like an underlying state of peace, baseline in your life, just a baseline state, are these beliefs. I'm not wanted. I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. If I try, I will fail. So all of these beliefs are around insignificance. They're around not being good enough and all these kind of things. So if you have a core belief in the back of your subconscious mind, which is way insanely more powerful than your conscious mind, and to demonstrate that, here's how it works. Your conscious mind can take in 150 bits of information per second. And as I said, your conscious mind is the gatekeeper. It's the filter to what you will allow and accept into your creative unconscious mind. So your conscious mind is taking in 150 bits of information per second. Your subconscious mind is taking in 5 million bits of information per second. And so it's kind of ridiculous to think that you can outsmart what your subconscious mind is programmed to get consciously. You need to change the unconscious stuff, okay? But there's one thing that ties into it very, very, very much, and that's actually block number 2. So let's get into talking about that. Block number 2 is emotions. Now, it's not just the emotions that come and go, that you experience, and it's like, oh, and then it goes away and you're good. And you're back to your baseline, whatever your baseline emotional state is. It might be anxiety. It might be, you might already have a baseline emotional state of just calm, of peace, of relaxation, which is amazing, because if you did not grow up in an environment that was suited for that kind of baseline emotional state, then you know how challenging it can be to shift that, to release and change your baseline, to get out of that baseline state of stress and get into a baseline state of peace. And what I mean by baseline is like where you're always hanging out and just on a regular day. Like, how do you feel? If you constantly have like this underlying stress or anxiety, your baseline is stress or anxiety. If you feel pretty good, like neutral most of the time, until something triggers you, or until, something triggers you to be happier than that. Then, you'll go up, and then sometimes something will trigger you and piss you off or whatever, and you go down, right? But your baseline is just where you're usually hanging out. So this whole video, like this whole episode, is about getting you to a baseline of inner peace. And so these are the things that are blocking that. So when I'm talking about your emotions, I'm talking about the accumulated emotions that you shoved down over your lifetime, or you didn't really have the capacity at the time to fully process and allow this emotion to take place while holding space for it. And so it was kind of too much. And so it just gets trapped in your body. Like it's too much to handle at the moment. So this often happens when we're very young. And, to tie number 1 and 2 together, the belief system and the emotions. So I was talking about your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is like 95% programmed by the age of 7. So your relationship patterns, your money patterns and beliefs and perspectives and all those kind of things, how you feel about yourself, your relationship with yourself, like if you're very self-critical and judgmental and you're constantly beating yourself up, that's one thing. If you have an actual healthy relationship with yourself, you're happy, you're fulfilled, like you have a healthy self-esteem and self-image, then that's another thing. And I was not gifted with that growing up. I don't know about you. I was not. And like I said, it's very hard to shift out of that. It takes work. It's not extremely hard, but it takes work, and it's a lot of pain, a lot of things to go through to get to that point. So that's what this is all about. And with those things with your subconscious mind being 95% programmed by the time you're 7 years old, you don't really have any control of what those programs are. And so often the trapped emotions that we accumulate in our body are from when we were very young. So that there were a lot of stressful experiences. If you grew up with parents who were very stressed a lot, and it was a stressful environment, maybe they had a lot of anxiety, maybe depression, maybe anger. Maybe there was a lot of anger, you'll pick those things up. Chances are you have a lot of trapped emotions that you've accumulated from certain experiences. And so that's what I mean when I say emotions, because the thing with this is your emotions are creating a literal filter over everything that you see. Right now, you are not actually seeing reality. You're not actually seeing truth. You're not seeing clearly. You're seeing a filter. And that filter is the emotions that are blocking you from seeing clearly. And if you can't see clearly, then you're probably not in a state of inner peace. And so this is one of the biggest blocks to that inner peace, are these trapped emotions, past traumas, because past traumas inevitably create trapped emotions in your body and your energy system. And for your energy system to flow smoothly, to move smoothly, you can't have this stuck energy all over the place. That's why your life is chaos. That's why you're so all over the place, because you have these blocks in your energy system. And until you release those, you're not going to see clearly, and you're not going to feel you might feel inner peace sometimes, but you're not going to have a baseline emotional state of inner peace where your life is just peaceful. It's not like you're trying really hard for these moments of peace. Your life is peaceful because you have the capacity to approach your life, whatever is happening, from a calm state, from a state of peace and relaxation, and maybe even an underlying state of happiness and joy. It's doable. If that's not how you grew up, it is doable. You need to know that. You need to know that it's possible for you, that you can change these things. You can release all that old shit. Because the truth is, you don't deserve to live like that. You don't deserve to be miserable because of circumstances that you could not control, that you grew up into. And so while it's not your fault for a lot of the stuff that you've accumulated over your lifetime, and you are innocent, as I've talked about in previous videos, it is your responsibility to heal, to address these things. If you want peace, it's all about what you want, because maybe you don't. There are a lot of back to the beliefs, there are a lot of stories that we tell ourselves. And oftentimes we have a hidden desire to continue struggling, to continue suffering, and to continue living like that. There's something that's attaching us to that. Typically, the attachment is emotional. So when you're addressing, before I jump into number 3, I want to address number 1 and 2 as much as I can. When you are addressing your belief systems, for example, if you have a belief that says, I'm not good enough, typically that belief is not just standing there alone. That belief is tied to some kind of emotional wound. So if your belief is hanging on up here and you can't get rid of that belief because you have these emotions that are trapped in your heart and your body that are tying you to this belief, if you don't change both of them, then they're probably not going to change. And oftentimes I believe that it's most important to start with the emotions, because your emotions are like the anchors. It's like the anchor of what's holding that belief in your head. If you feel like you're not good enough, you might have trapped emotions of worthlessness, of unworthiness, of sadness, of self-abuse, of blame, of longing, of love unreceived, of all of these different kind of things, and probably more than that. We all have these trapped emotions. We do. And unless you've already done a bunch of work in releasing them, and then you would probably be already very aware of everything that I'm talking about right now. We all have them. And so it's not something to be ashamed of. That's another big one, is shame. You probably have shame. If you believe you're not good enough, the emotion that's tied to that is also very strong. If that belief is very strong, then the emotion is very strong as well. And so typically things like shame will cause us to have that kind of belief. And I don't know which one causes or influences the other, but I do know that you can have tons and tons and tons and thousands of negative thoughts coming up that are actually stemming from one single emotion. Shame, for example, or guilt, or unworthiness. You might have that emotion trapped in here somewhere, and you're working in your mind overtime, trying to solve this problem, trying to figure out how you can change this belief of believing that you're unworthy, of believing that you're not good enough. You're probably doing everything that you can to try and change this belief. But if you don't address the anchor that is holding that belief in place, which is the emotions trapped in your body, the past traumas, things like that, then you're not gonna be able to free yourself from that crippling belief. It's fucking miserable. I know. I've lived it the majority of my life, and I've been around tons of other people, coached people who have the same stories, who have the same belief systems. And so yeah, it's not easy, but it's doable. And this is how you do it. You have to address these things: the belief system and the emotions. They are linked, like inseparable. It's all just your whole psychology. It's your what is happening in the background of your consciousness. And this is all the subconscious. It's all the subconscious. I'm not saying that these are two separate things. Your emotions and belief systems are not separate things. I'm just laying them out in a way that is easier to understand. So, number 3. Now, this ties back to the original point I made. Life is about fulfillment, and often we want to achieve the things that we want to achieve in life because we believe we'll feel better in the achievement of them. And that is often true. But it's not true if you are operating from an outside-in paradigm. You are trying to change things on the outside in your life so that you can have a different experience on the inside. And that's an important point that just came up for me, is a different experience on the inside. Here's the thing to understand. You don't experience anything outside of yourself. Nothing. Even observing. Right now I'm looking at a bunch of trees, a bunch of greens, beautiful scenery out the window right here. And most people, I'm not going to say most people, I don't know. A lot of people don't even see that. They don't even see it. They cannot be present with the scenery, with the beauty that's all around them. Why? Because they're miserable and they're trapped in this internal cycle of negative belief systems, negative emotions. And so all of these blocks to their inner peace. You can only really fucking appreciate something in a state of peace. You can't feel fear and appreciation at the same time. They're completely different emotional states. If you can't get yourself into a baseline state of peace, of calm, of just observing, even if it's just a neutral state, then you're probably not going to appreciate things in your life very much. Like truly, deeply appreciate them at the heart level. Like you might mentally go, oh yeah, I appreciate that. But you haven't been conscious or aware or present with the feelings in your body in years. And so that's what this is all about, you know? That's what I'm here for. That's what I help with. And, you know, specifically like a lot of, I like to focus on men because I'm a man. I've experienced a lot of the challenges that come along with being a man and also the societal conditioning of like men just being so fucking disconnected from themselves and their emotions. And it's like, life is about achievement. You know, I'm just here to provide and that's it. But it's like, there's no depth of emotion in that. There's no, there can be, it's not like life completely changes when you change your internal experience, but it does at the same time. Like you may be doing the same things as you did before, but it's a completely different experience. So back to my point, you don't experience anything outside of yourself. You only experience internally. You only experience I'm not experiencing this beautiful scenery unless I'm completely present, no thoughts in my mind. Otherwise, I'm only experiencing my thoughts about this scenery. I'm only experiencing my judgment that goes, oh, that's a tree. And as soon as I put that label on this tree outside, I'm not actually present with the tree because this label makes things easier to understand in life. You know, so we label certain things, the tree, a bush, the dog, a squirrel, you know, a bird. And then we just, every time we see it, we have this automatic conclusion, oh, it's just a bird. It's like, have you really examined that bird? Have you ever been present with a bird? And you're not thinking, you're just like so present in the moment that you see the bird, and instead of just going, oh, that's a bird, like it's like amazing. Wow. Like, what is this magical creature? Yeah. If you were in that state, you would realize that life itself is this like, it's amazing. It's magical. It's surreal. It is beautiful. But so many people are like that person who's constantly in their head, constantly in their own stories and mental emotional suffering, and hasn't really been connected with themselves truly for years. It's how so many people are living, at least, you know, in America these days. I'm sure it's a lot outside of America too. It's not just America. It is a lot of people who are living this way. And so I would be fine if my sole contribution in this life was just helping people to be more fulfilled. And I feel like that's a big part of my purpose that I've decided on. But like if I literally did nothing else and just helped people be more fulfilled, that would be very meaningful to me. Because I was at a time in my life where it was so stressful, it was so unfulfilling. It was just so much bullshit, so much emotional baggage, not just me, the people around me. Like this, I grew up into it. And so much fake shit that life was not worth living to me if I was going to live it like that. And so I made a decision. You're one decision away. I made a decision, a determined fucking decision to do whatever the hell it took to not live like that, to solve all this internal bullshit, emotional stuff, psychological stuff. It's all the same. Subconscious is your mind. Subconscious is your body. It's your nervous system. It's your beliefs. It's your emotions. It's all of it. I made a determined decision, and you might need to do the same. What's it worth to you? What is it worth to you? If it's not that important, then you're probably going to live the rest of your life like a lot of people who are an empty shell of a body, of a person. There's not a lot going in on there. Not a lot going on in there. Because it's stress. When you're fueled by stress, you're not fueled by love. You're not connected to love. You might see your relationship as the main source of love in your life. And in that case, you're not connected to love. You see your relationship as the vehicle for you to feel love. But outside of that, do you feel love when you look at the trees? Do you feel love when you see a bird or a squirrel or plants? Or are you also very disconnected from your emotions? It's how I grew up. And like I said, not worth living to me. Just not worth it. And it may not be to the same extent for you. It may or may not be. I don't know. Maybe you've already made that decision. Maybe that's why you're watching this video, because you're determined to make a change. You're determined, you want something deeper. You're determined to get something deeper in your life. That's why you're here. Then this is the right place to be, because I'm so passionate about it. Because what the fuck is the point if you're not fulfilled? Nothing externally matters. It does not fucking matter what you achieve in your life. It doesn't fucking matter who you are in terms of status, how other people see you. The most meaningful thing that you can do is go to the depths within yourself and create what is meaningful for you. I'm not going to project that what is most meaningful for me is the most meaningful for you. That's what coaching is for. I don't know what's most meaningful for you. You do. I'm just here to help guide people along actually creating that. Videos are just for me to share. I'm just sharing. I can't share like exactly what, maybe this really resonates with you, but I can't share like exactly your whole, I can only share from my experience. So I can't share all of that. I don't know, but what's most meaningful for you? All I can do is ask the question. What is most meaningful for you? And here's the thing. I want to circle back around to number 3, because I kind of got off on a tangent there, but I feel like it was important. I hope you enjoyed that. And it is approaching these holes and voids that we feel internally from the standpoint of, if I achieve this, then I will feel happier. If I get here, then I will be fulfilled. Once I finally, maybe you have a good relationship. Maybe it's a great relationship with your partner, your girlfriend or boyfriend. And you're like, it feels a little dull, it isn't progressing as much. There's not as much excitement as there was before. So now we need to get married. Yeah, we need to get married. Okay, go get married. You might have the same excitement a little bit in the beginning, but guess what? You're going to ultimately come back down to the baseline. If you're trying to do something like that externally in your life to solve the internal problems that you feel, to solve the lack of connection, the loneliness that you feel internally, the depression, anxiety, whatever it is, you're not going to change. It's not going to change. Now, there's a nuance here. There is a nuance here, because this is actually something that I do with my VIP one-on-one clients. Is we'll get out there in nature. We'll go on hikes. We'll go travel. We'll do things like that. Get out in the world, because it can be helpful to create external experiences in your life that induce and create and initiate internal shifts. But if you are looking to make a certain amount of money, get married, find a partner so that you can be happy, it's not going to fucking work. Like, how many examples do you need before you actually decide to face the internal shit, before you actually decide to do whatever it takes? Whatever it takes. Invest in yourself. Hire a coach. Or don't. I don't know. Read books. Do whatever resonates with you. Just literally do whatever resonates with you, because you cannot go wrong when you listen to yourself, when you listen to your intuition. But the thing is, most people have all these unconscious beliefs, their belief system, and these trapped emotions are completely blocking them off from their intuition at all, from being connected with their intuition. And so, that's where you're looking to authority. You're looking to somebody else to show you the way. Like, you're the only one who knows the way for your life. You're not here to be a clone. You're here to be yourself. I'm getting passionate in this one, but I think it's needed because I'm literally just following my intuition. I had an outline for this episode. I'm like, okay, this is the main things, but you got to follow the passion, man. You got to follow the passion. And so I hope it resonates with you, because it's just another block getting in the way of your inner peace. Like, you're here to live a life that is so fucking authentic to you that it doesn't exist anywhere else. You're not a clone. You're here to be the best version of yourself. You're here to create the life that you want. Maybe you still have unconscious beliefs from your parents when you were growing up telling you should do this, this, and this. And that's why you're unfulfilled in your career right now, because you didn't actually choose it. You thought you chose it, but it didn't choose you. You chose it because other people told you to do it. What do you actually want? It's one of the most important questions. What do you actually want? And there is no shame in finding what you want and going for it. There is no shame in that. At least there shouldn't be. So yeah, I mean, we're going here. I like this. But to circle back around, I don't want to make this episode last forever. So to circle back around, number 3, if you're living from the outside in paradigm of thinking that changing things outside will change things inside, the path has been laid out before you. The path has been laid out before. Countless celebrities, people who become famous, people who become rich, they get everything they wanted, and then they still feel empty and they kill themselves. Prime example. And it may not be to that extent. It may not be to the extent where you feel so empty and so unworthy and so worthless to the point where you do. But do you want to live a miserable life? Do you want to suffer? Or do you want to actually cure those things? Cure. Not just put a Band-Aid on them with medication or whatever diagnosis your doctor gives you so that they can make money off of you. Cure them. Because these things can be cured. You can solve them from the root of the problem, from the root of the issue where they got created, by releasing the emotional stuff, changing the belief systems. And often a big part of that is actually connecting with yourself on an emotional and spiritual level, because you'll realize a lot when you do that. You'll realize that you are so much more and so much, it goes so much deeper than what you may have been made to believe, or, than what has been laid out for you. That your value comes from what you do in life, that your value comes from what you achieve, that your value comes from what you have, from how other people perceive you, from your level of status, all these things. No, it doesn't. Those things, they don't really mean that much. They really don't. And, sadly, a lot of people, I think all of us, have to actually experience the truth of that before we finally accept it and just give in and go, okay, I can let go of all of this, go internal, and actually truly find your value. And this is a really fucking challenging thing for men. It's been one of the biggest challenges of my life. And I see so many men around me that are twice and three times my age that are still dealing with the same shit. They haven't solved it. They haven't cured it. They haven't healed. They're still blind to these facts. That your value is not purely just what you do in your life. Your value is inherent. So many people are lost to this. Your value is inherent. You never did have to do anything to be good enough or to be worthy of love. It's inherent. You were born that way. It's been that way since before you were born. But that's not what we were told. That's not what we were programmed to believe. It just ends up being a cycle of trying to prove your worth or trying to at least get some confirmation that you're worth something. And then you don't get it. Maybe you achieve a goal that you had and it's like, oh, I thought this would make me feel it, but then it doesn't. And so you're left with this feeling of worthlessness again. You're left thinking that you're a nothing, that you're dirt, you're shit, you're better off dead. And that is not you seeing clearly. The prime definition, prime example of what I was saying earlier. You are seeing a filter. You're not seeing clearly. Because through the filter of the pain and the trapped emotions and the trauma, whatever you got, maybe it's inherited. Maybe you inherited these things from your parents, from your grandparents, down the bloodline. Wherever it comes from, the filter of those emotions makes it so that, yeah, it totally makes sense that you're not good enough. And that's the truth. But it's not the objective truth. It's the subjective truth based on the filter that you are seeing life and yourself through. If you're seeing yourself through a filter of unworthiness, of this unworthiness that you have trapped in your body, you're not actually seeing yourself. You're seeing an emotion. You're seeing an emotional filter. It needs to be cleared and released. And there are several methods of doing this. So I mentioned that I was going to get into how to release these things so that you can create more fulfillment and inner peace in your life. And I'm not going to get all the way into it because I have other content on this, but releasing your trapped emotions. Now there's several ways that you can do this. There's something that I actually recently started using, learning, and doing on myself and those around me, and some close clients, which is the emotion code. The emotion code is all about releasing the trapped energy in your body. And it's a very, very interesting and powerful way of doing it. And so, along with that, you can do other things like Reiki, energy healing. I don't do that yet, but it's something I'm curious about and I want to learn. Another thing is hypnotherapy, because hypnotherapy is kind of a way of going deeper into it. And you can go back into past experiences that caused those emotions and really create a new understanding and release the associated emotions that are creating and anchoring that mental block in your psychology, in your subconscious. So there's several ways that you can do this. Really, it comes down to processing the unprocessed emotions. It comes down to releasing the emotions that were trapped in your body. And yeah, I mean, if you want to learn more about that, check out my video on how to stop letting your emotions get in your way, which is inspired by the main central ideas from the book Letting Go by David Hawkins, and many other books talk about this, but that's one of my favorites that I've read. So check out that book, check out my other content, check out other people's content. There are a ton of people who have great content on YouTube. So check them out, there's a lot of value here, and I'm glad you're here, and I hope you got value from this. I'm going to go ahead and end it because I feel like I've shared, enough. So I'm going to call it good. And if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, any feedback, literally anything. Drop a comment and share, because I like human interaction. And doing this, I'm literally just talking to a phone right now. Zero human interaction, except myself. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. And I will see you in the next one, where we're going to talk more about all of this stuff. So stay tuned, and we'll talk soon. Thank you. Peace. You're only one decision away. Peace.